Hey, just a heads up that the following content may be disturbing or triggering for some listeners and is not appropriate for children. Please take care of yourself and others who may be listening with you. Welcome to the Bonus Babies Podcast, a show that has no easy answers, only hard questions.
And I have zero intentions, right? Like, I think her mom is a lovely woman. I think she's made some horrible choices, and they've been driven just by some awful things that she's gone through. And like, my heart actually does hurt for her. I got into my car after court last Thursday or 2 weeks ago. Everything went as I expected it to. So it wasn't that, I was faced with a new dilemma or a new thing, but I just cried. And I cried because it's so sad that anyone is in this situation. And, I want to look at her and say, your daughter, will always know you, and you can be as involved as you want to be. And that's who I am as a person. And I would, I want to take care of her. I want everybody to be healthy and happy. And, I just wish it was that easy to say, let me have her, and you can be part of her life.
Can you tell me what you call the kids who you've cared for over the years?
We feel that the children that we receive coming into our home are bonuses. So we call them bonus babies.
I love that. This is your host, Jayne Amelia Larson, and I'm a CASA, a court-appointed special advocate volunteer for youth in foster care. Yeah, I know it's a mouthful. In the same way a CASA works, I explore all things in the foster care maze by talking to kids, parents, caregivers, attorneys, social workers, therapists, really anybody and everybody who will speak to me to keep the conversation open and the information flowing about all things CASA.
Hi, this is Jake Everly, the producer of the Bonus Babies podcast, and today Jayne Amelia speaks with Nicole Goswami. Nicole and her husband chose to foster to adopt, which means there is the possibility that they can adopt this child full-time, that this child would actually be theirs. There is a catch, but I'll let her explain that. Here's Nicole Goswami.
Hi, I'm here with Nicole Goswami, and we're just talking about her background. Can you tell me a little bit more? You have a really interesting combination of parents, which I don't think I've ever heard of before.
Sure. So thanks for asking. So my dad was born in India and my mom was born in Hungary, and both of them came to the United States. My dad came here for graduate school. My mom came here for other family-related reasons, had relatives living in Ohio, and they randomly met on a blind date in a little tiny town called Bellefontaine, Ohio. And
Bellefontaine. And by the way, people, you hear a baby in the background. We're going to get to the baby in a minute. But yeah, so you were raised in the Midwest?
So we moved quite a bit. So my dad's a chemical engineer. So we made our way up from Kansas, which is where I was born, then Oklahoma. And then we made our way up to the Northeast and have been New York, Massachusetts. And then I've been in Vermont for, 39 years.
Wow, so how's that? Because Vermont's beautiful.
Vermont is beautiful. We're in sort of the dreary part of our winter where all we want is sunshine.
I hear a but coming in your sentence, but
Yes.
Vermont's beautiful, but...
It's cold, and we've had just windy days, but it's really nice, when the snow falls in late October, early November, and it's beautiful and you're all excited, and then past, January, it's time to move on. So we just had a storm yesterday. We have another storm coming tomorrow. So it does look beautiful when it all happens, but the snow gets dirty and
Yep, and there's a lot of work.
Yeah,
and
I like spring flowers and warm weather. So
Right, so you're married, right?
I am married, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How long have you been married?
Oh, we've been married for just over 2 years, together for 7. I met Todd later in my years, just couldn't find the right guy.
Later in your years? You're a kid. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm a bit older, but he has 3 kids, so they're age 13, 16, and 18, and so we had, sort of a instant family in that sense. But we met through mutual friends because he's very much into soccer and his kids are into soccer. So we met through a soccer mom, surprisingly. And our vows included some soccer terminology because that's his life. So
Really? Wow.
yeah.
Like what? Like a free kick or what? Or I don't
I
even
made
know
a
it.
reference. I made a reference just to like the number of games and the times he's away, and that he could always choose soccer over whatever was happening at
Oh.
home. So,
Uh-huh.
ironically, his oldest son, was in a tournament or a championship game, and it fell on our wedding day, like right at our our ceremony time. So his oldest, Alex, did not make it to the wedding because it was critical that he be there for the team, and it was a half hour away. So I think everybody was watching the game, streaming it during
Right,
our
on their phones
ceremony.
while
Yeah,
they're sitting at the
yes,
ceremony, right?
yes. So they were streaming it, and then they went into penalty kicks, and that was during the reception. And they ended up losing. But Alex got up there, but he got pulled over on the way for speeding and said, "Well, I'm late to my dad's wedding," and so I think he was let off. But yeah, it's a whole soccer thing, and soccer is their life, and um, I think I probably regret a little bit of saying you can choose soccer anytime because we now I refer to myself as the soccer widow. So
Oh no, really?
it's okay
Yeah.
though. Like it's been good for me just in terms of like, learning independence and discovering myself. So I think there is a, silver lining to all of it. So,
In my just few exchanges with you, what struck me is that you seem to have a really easygoing personality. Like you don't get rattled a lot. Like you're super flexible. And is that true, or are you just being very polite?
no, I mean, for the most part, I am pretty easygoing. I try to think about what I can control and what I can't. And screaming babies, I can't control when they do that. And so I think just in my life, I've learned to take it as it comes. And a lot of it's how you react to things. And yeah, I'm pretty laid back. I can't say always. My family would probably disagree on this. But yeah, for the most part, just things happen and just you got to adapt.
Right. Have you got brothers and sisters?
I do. I have one younger brother, and then I have two older stepsisters and two older stepbrothers.
Okay, so you're accustomed to blended families then. This is
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, okay, great.
Yep.
And then when you were on your way to being married, did you say, I now have 3 kids and I didn't even I and I'm just getting married and I already have 3 kids?
Yeah, so I always dreamed of having a family. That's like been my fairy tale, I know in this modern world of like, feminism and women and, saying you want to have a family and stay home is kind of, frowned upon. But I honestly like if I could be surrounded by kids and just be immersed in things they do all day and make dinners and have family dinners, I would be 100% content with that. Like that's how I grew up. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I mean, we had breakfast every morning together. We had dinner together. She had snacks when we got off the bus. Like, and I remember those things. My mom sadly passed when I was 20.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry, so
Oh,
young.
thank
Wow.
you. Yeah, so you just, you hold on to what you know. And so for me, it's always been super important. So yeah, Todd's kids, I was excited. I think with any step family, there's always that fine line of blending, even in my own family. And as hard as you try, it's never perfect, right? Like there's always something. And the same applies for even myself and my current, my stepmom's wonderful. But there are moments where, I'm like, wait, you're not my mom.
Yep, you're not my mom.
And there's something missing, and I would never say that to her because she is like the most loving woman, and she walked into my dad's life and just, took us on even though we were older. But with Todd's kids too, like I wanted that to be my family. I wanted that to be enough. But I think when I met Todd, his youngest was 6. And so I realized, not quickly, but over time, that I really needed to be in someone's life from the very beginning, or as close to the beginning as possible. And
you wanted a baby in the house, and now you have one.
and I do.
Right, so
I
tell me
do.
about that. How did you arrive?
So, my husband and I looked at possible. So I'm 46. He's older. He's 55. And when we, started talking about family, and it was 2 years ago because I wanted to be married. But we started looking at adoption. We started looking at international, domestic. We talked about having a baby. I worked at a hospital here in town for a long time. And so one of my friends is the OBGYN, and she's like, people do it all the time. You're not too old. There's so many things. But I was hesitant, and adoption, it's in itself, like, it's just so expensive. You had to have such a huge amount of money available up front, and there's grants that you could apply to, but we just didn't have the cash laying around.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that it is very expensive to try to adopt a baby.
Very.
And a lot of people get ripped off in the process of it, too.
Yep. And it's not even guaranteed. So after you do all of that, and there's so many parameters. So because Todd was older, we were looking at, I think it was Burundi, is where we were looking. So they had a problem with the fact that we hadn't been married for 5 years, even though we'd been together for 7. And they had trouble with our ages. So the youngest child they would even consider, if they would get past the marriage, the number of years, would have been 10. And I was like, well, it would have been like $50,000 for, and again, like, all I wanted was a child, but I knew I wanted a child that was younger. So then I started looking into foster care. And when you mention foster care, everybody kind of like stops you right away and says, it's the hardest ride. It's so difficult. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. The risk is there. And I was like, well, yeah, but there's still kids who need loving homes, and, moms and dads and people to care for them. And
So that's what you heard at first. There wasn't anybody saying, wow, what a great thing that you're going to step up and take care of a kid in need who's not yours, who might go back to their biological families. There was nobody that was applauding you for that.
They do now that I have her, but going into it, they were very cautionary about the risk and the heartbreak that comes with it. And I'm a sensitive person. Like, I'm definitely an empath, and I take things to heart. And yeah, it's the foster process is always about reunification, and this going into it, but you can specify, that you want a baby, and you'd like, a potential placement that is likely not to be reunified. It sounds so awful, like, saying it like that, but anyway, you can say these things, and so that's what I asked for. Just
Right.
'cause,
So you essentially asked for something that would be called foster to adopt, right?
yes. Yep.
Okay.
So that was our plan. And again, it's not guaranteed, and it's still not. So, this little girl that we have is, she's been with us now for 8 months, and we did pick her up from the hospital. She was in the NICU for 3 weeks.
Wow. So you got her as a baby.
She was 20 days old. Yep.
And she was in the NICU too. So
She was in the NICU. So she was born here locally. She was born early. Her mom didn't really do any of the prenatal care. Parents were addicted to heroin, fentanyl, just a host of drug-related issues. So she was quickly transported to a hospital about 2 hours from here, and spent those 20 days mostly by herself. I think her parents visited maybe twice.
Right. So was she in withdrawal too?
She was. Yep. Yep. So she was in withdrawal. She had some respiratory and some ventricular related problems. And so as the foster mom, I actually don't have rights to her medical records. So I don't have the full history. So
Really?
mhm.
Wow. How could
So
they? Is that true only for Vermont?
I'm
Because
not sure.
I have to find out about that, because I think it's maybe perhaps the foster moms learn things verbally through the social workers.
Mhm.
Maybe they're not allowed to actually look at the official records,
Right.
but that's interesting. So you don't really have a lot of information leading up to it.
No, I have exactly what you're talking about, which is the puzzle pieces as people mention things. Yeah, so I
The
don't
puzzle
have the
pieces, right? You mean so like you hear something, you think, oh, that's why.
Yep.
Oh, okay, now I understand.
Yep.
Who's that? All right, and that's why that happened.
Mm-hmm.
The puzzle pieces.
Yes. And you still, like, I still don't have a complete puzzle. Like, it's still, there's a lot of pieces missing. So, yes, you start to put it together. But yeah, even little things like, I mean, I take her to the doctor. I travel to this medical center 2 hours away for follow-ups, but I do not have access to her portal. So I can't message the physicians through that. So I have to, it's like the old-fashioned way. Like, you have to call. And nowadays everyone says portal, use the portal, but you can't as a foster parent. It's puzzling because you're essentially responsible for everything for this child, their health, their well-being. You're expected to get them care right away. You're expected to bring them to get emergency services, but you don't have access to, to their history.
Wow, that's just terrible, because it's like you're trying to raise a healthy baby with one arm tied behind your back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is the social worker helpful in that regard, or is it just a question of they're overworked, like most of them in
Yeah,
all
I
parts
think
of the
that's
country? And
exactly overworked. Their caseload's really high. I think honestly, I don't know what the population of foster parents is that they get, but I've been told that, they know the baby's fine and safe and healthy here, and they know I know what I'm doing. And so I guess I get a monthly visit from them. They do a house visit, but not a lot of oversight.
wow.
I think other people get more depending on what their parenting needs are. I don't really reach out either. I mean, unless I update her with, appointment information. But the girl that we work with, I think she's overworked. I think her caseload's high. It's a weird dynamic though, because the social worker is obviously working towards reunification, and so am I, and so is the mom. But it's a slippery slope, the relationship, just because there's not really a support person for the foster parent. There's other foster parents who've gone through the process and can kind of reassure you or tell you, oh, that's normal, but the social worker doesn't really provide that support or that that emotional support to the foster family.
I've heard this a lot. I think and that's one of the reasons why there's incredible amount of burnout among foster parents, is because they don't have the resources, they don't have the support, they don't have the guidance, they don't have just that community around them, unless they happen to find one or build one. I know some foster moms in Georgia that have been on my podcast, and they essentially built their own community because they realize, well, I need this information. Who do I get it from? There's nobody. Okay, I'm going to find out, and then I'm going to share that information with everyone on this hive, they call it. And I think it's made their work not only much easier, but it's made it less stressful.
Sure.
And, it's hard enough to be a young mom with a baby, never mind one where you don't feel like you have a good support system. And people need to know this. Is there anybody you can have you been able to talk to anybody about that at all?
I mean, I talk to a therapist just because it's for my own, for my own mind and health. But it's really just no, it's just people that have gone through the process and who you might come across. And it's one of those things where, every day you live in wonder. Some days you're like, okay, this is great. Like she's going to be with me forever. And then other days you're like, wow. And it's hard to think that way because especially for myself, like I am such an empath. Like I want everyone to succeed. I want to take care of everyone. So, to say, "Oh, I hope mom doesn't fulfill the requirements," it sounds
Yeah,
evil.
feels terrible.
It
Yeah.
feels terrible.
Mm.
And I met her actually a couple weeks ago at the court, and it was the first time we met, and I introduced myself, and it was cold when we were leaving, and like I wanted to offer her a ride because she has no transportation. I didn't, but like I want to say to her, just come to my house. Like we have an extra room. Like I'll help you. Like we'll figure this out, but she's also made choices that have led to this situation, but it's really hard to separate like the emotion from the job. And they always tell you when you're doing your job, like try to do your job and not not have it lead with emotion. But like this is it's all feelings and emotions. And I was actually watching.
Yeah, you're bonding with the baby. You're bonding
Oh
with
my
the
gosh,
baby,
yeah,
right?
I like love this kid. Like I am head over heels. Um and she's thriving. She has made so many great accomplishments in such a short time.
And how about her developmental goals? Are you pretty much
We
on
are on
track?
track. So when I
Yay!
brought her home, she was
Wow.
4 pounds. We just had a nurse visit today, and she's 17.7. And
Mm-hmm.
she's meeting all of her goals in terms of, like the verbal and eating, and she seems to be on track, weight, height. I mean, she's really thriving to the point, like actually I went to the hospital that's about 2 hours away. It's Dartmouth. And the provider that we saw, because we see a neurosurgeon up there just for some of the ventricular stuff. And he said, wait, is this the same child from like, May is when she was born, May 17th. And I said, yeah. And he couldn't believe it. Like he couldn't believe this was the same kid. And so I was like, oh, that makes me feel good. Um,
Oh, it should. You should be patting yourself on the
right?
back all the way to church. Oh my
But
gosh.
I strongly feel environment plays a huge role, and who people are with. I mean, she is loved every single day. I coach a swim team. She goes to every practice with me. She goes to all the meets. She has such a fan club. I mean,
She goes to all the
she
meets.
does. Like she is, yeah, she is. I mean, honestly, I walked into practice the other day and I didn't have her because a friend had said, "Can I just have her for a little while?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, that would be a good thing for everyone." And they were so disappointed that I walked in, as their coach, that I've had them forever, that I didn't have the baby. So, yeah, she's just like, I mean, it's just such a nice feeling to be supported. In my little community, my swim family, because they are just, I mean, they're just as in love with this little girl as I am. So,
Right. So were you a swimmer
I
too?
was, yep.
What was your event?
So I did the butterfly and backstroke.
Yeah, I did fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
coach now the same team I grew up swimming on. So, it's been full circle, and actually, a tribute to my mom, because my mom was like the swim mom, like the, quintessential. And so, a lot of my passion and love of what I do is driven just having her as that swim mom for so many years. And she's always timing or doing the ribbons or whatever it might be. But so we raised enough money a few years back and ended up getting a scoreboard, and the board dedicated it to her. So
lovely. How
yeah,
nice. Yeah.
it's a really special team, special people.
Has the baby been in the water yet?
Yes. She
Of course.
loves it. Oh my God, she loves it. She, yeah, so I coached the high school and the club team. And so the high school asked if she could get in. And so I, put her in her suit, and they took a team picture, and she is beaming and just, she loves the water. Yeah, I took her again on Sunday, just her and I, and it was, yeah, you can't get her out. Like when you start to leave, she's like, she
Yeah,
definitely
starts to fuss.
protests. Yeah.
So how does your husband feel about all this? Because obviously he was on board because you really wanted it.
Mhm.
He's already had 3 kids. How has that? What's that navigation been like?
So it's been a little difficult. He, like you have said, he's done this, right? And I did want it to be enough with his kids. So he's along for the ride. He's very supportive. He loves her. I mean, she lights up a room, so the smile like can make your day. I mean, she's a pretty funny kid too, so she does some pretty funny things that get you going. But I think he also feels like he's older, and he's like, whew, I got to get through these nights, like these nights of no sleeping. And I just have a different approach. I'm like, I waited this long, I don't care if she stays up all night. Like I just don't, because everyone's like, oh, you don't get to sleep at night. I don't care. Like, I would stay up for days if that's what it took. So he's in, and I kind of knew it would mostly be me, and I'm okay
I
with.
think that's true of for a lot of moms anyway, even if it
Yeah,
doesn't start that way.
right. And I'm okay with it, actually. Like, she is my dream. Like, as soon as I brought her home, I knew this is what I'd been missing. So, like, there is no doubt in my mind that a baby, hopefully this baby, is with me for the long haul, because it just changes your life. Like, I mean, it changes your perspective. It changes how you think. It's been eye-opening.
So have they asked you to take in any other kids since they see how good you are?
They have.
How did that go down?
So, I said I couldn't at this time, just because they asked me fairly quickly after I brought her home, and she was a pretty needy baby. I mean, for the first month and a half, I mean, it was almost like she was still in the womb. I mean, she was like born early, and it was a transition. So we got a puppy because we were supposed to get placed in March with a foster child, and at the last minute, the grandparents ended up getting conditional custody. And so I was like all prepared, because I don't live near like Targets or any baby stores. And so I was at a swim meet, and I was like, ooh, I'm gonna get a baby. So I went and got a bunch of stuff because I knew it was a baby girl, and like the cutest outfits. I was so excited. And then Monday, I waited all day, and they called and they said the grandparents got her. And that's the right thing, right?
Oh,
It's like the
gosh.
family, but I cried.
Mhm.
And I held on to the stuff for about a month. And I was like, okay, clearly, not meant to be right now. So we got a puppy. And we already had a dog. So we got a brand new puppy, a black lab. Her name's Harley. And so that was my little love. And then she got big really quick. But 3 weeks later is when she came along. So the baby. So we had the puppy, we had the dog, we had a new baby, the 3 kids, and it was a lot. It
Right,
was
so all 3 kids are in the house with you along with the baby? Or they
not all the time.
they're-
So it's like 50-50. Their
Okay.
mom lives very close to us, and we all get along very well. So it's
That's
actually
great.
it's great. And she was so tiny that honestly the kids were afraid. I was afraid. I got to the hospital, and they said, "Do you want to hold her?" And I said, "Yeah, but I don't know how to pick up anything so tiny." And I even questioned it. I said, "Are you sure she's ready to go home? Because like, I
She's
don't
only
think
4
she's ready."
pounds or what?
Yeah. And anyway, so it took the kids a little bit, and I get it.
That's like the size of a puppy. Like 4
She was
pounds.
so small. Like it was incredible. I couldn't believe as I was driving home. I mean, she had like blanket bumpers in her car seat to like
In
keep
order
her
just
from
to
like
wow.
yeah. But yeah, so it's definitely been a learning curve. It's definitely changed. I wouldn't say changed our relationship, but I mean, obviously the baby has a lot of needs, and so I've changed sort of how I want to do things too. He's like, "Let's go to dinner tonight." And I was like, "Oh, no, let's just order in," because it's fun to watch the baby and have her, crawling around. And she's a great baby. Like in public, she's awesome. So she'd be fine in a
Sorry, I'm
restaurant,
laughing, but like it's fun. Let's see what the baby's gonna do.
she's so fun. Like she's so fun. And especially like in Vermont in the winter, like the last thing you want to do is get in the car when it's freezing, and like, no, just go pick up something and we'll just have it here, and
Mhm.
we'll play with the baby. So But he's been great. I mean, he knows this is my dream, and I know, as difficult as it can be sometimes, like to have a baby in the house, he knows this is what lights me up. So,
Yeah, yeah, he knows it makes you happy.
yep.
So, how many times have the bio parents been with the child? Have they had visits or?
They have, yeah. So they have 3 days that are offered to them every week. It's an hour and a half at a time. It's sometimes they show and they're pretty consistent, sometimes they don't. Both parents have honestly been in jail, and dad is currently incarcerated, so it's just mom now doing the visits. So, yeah, it's weird because days you would think they would never miss, they miss, and you know, days where you're like, oh, it's freezing and they're not going to want to walk to get there, they show up. But they're all supervised visits. So there's somebody in the room, and mom receives coaching. So it's, but it's not consistent.
Right, and I would imagine then that it's not like the baby knows them, right?
Not really.
No, the baby knows you. The baby doesn't know the bio parents. The baby knows you.
Yep. So we were at court, and that's where I met mom, which was sort of awkward. But she's like, "Oh, is that my baby?" And I said, "Yeah, it's your baby." And she said, "Oh, can I take her out of the stroller?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." And so the whole time she was holding the baby was making sure that I was there. Didn't was comfortable. Like, she's comfortable going to everyone because I've made it that way. I mean, I have about 100 swim moms and grandparents who like basically have adopted her at swim practice.
Right,
So
so she's used to getting passed around without freaking
she gets
out.
passed around all the time. So
That's
she's
great.
used to people picking her up, but she was definitely looking to make sure I was nearby. And mom at one point said, "Oh, you don't know what to do when your mommy and that other lady are in the room." And
Oh.
and I was like, yeah. So she didn't. She knows who I am. She knows the people in her life right now that see her every single day. And mom alluded to that too, because she said, yeah, during our visits, I guess I'm not privy with jail policy, but she can buy jail time where she can FaceTime the baby's dad. And I guess she has the phone out, but it's getting to the point where the baby doesn't even recognize or really have any interest in talking to the dad on the other end of the phone. So
Yeah, but the baby's 7 months old or
yeah,
8
she's
months?
8. She'll be 9 months on the 17th.
Okay, so
Yep.
she's a 9 month
Yeah.
old baby. I mean, even if they start early on phones, it's a little early, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
Although these kids, man, I tell you, I have a laptop, which I'm on right now, and thank goodness she's sleeping because I work from home and I do Zoom meetings, and she she wants to be part of all of them. And so she's reaching for the keyboard. Like, she knows like what to do. Even on the phone, she'll like grab it and I'm like, "Wait, how did you even get into that?" Like, it's amazing what these kids like take
well,
in.
I'm sure she's doing that because she sees that you're paying attention to it. So she wants to be involved in what you're navigating.
Exactly. So actually I did get her because the watch too. She loves the watches. So I ended up getting her it's like this VTech, her own version. Not as interesting to her because, it doesn't have the same push stuff. But I was like, okay, I'll get you your own. But yeah, no, it's fun to watch her do these things. But it is very clear that she like who she's comfortable with and who she knows. Like, my dad comes and visits quite often, and she lights right up when she sees him. Like, she knows at this point who he is. So
See, this is the tricky thing because, yeah, I understand it. You want the baby to be reunited with the bio family. But then a baby comes into the world and the family who's raising the baby becomes the family. And then maybe at 1 or 2 years old, not even soon, but 1 or 2 or 3 years old, she might be moved
right.
back to her bio family and she's going to scream bloody murder because she doesn't know them.
Right. And that's the hard part. I mean, so like her birth mom has another child that her mother actually has custody of. her dad has 2 kids that he recently just lost custody of. This is their only child together, but between the 2 of them, they have 4 kids and they don't have custody of any of them. And my husband actually said, at what point do people just like shut this down and say like, okay, like enough is enough? And even her going back, right? Like the lifestyles, they're just so different than what she's used to here. Like we don't smoke, we obviously don't do drugs, we read books every night. It's just a very different lifestyle. And so it's puzzling because while yes, it would be great to reunite, it's almost like they're setting them up for failure. So, if she goes back, and I'm sure there are cases where this doesn't happen, but so her birth mom is actually a foster child. And then she has this child. And so, I mean, the pattern repeats over and over and
It
over.
does indeed.
And,
It does.
at least I don't have access to everything in the world, but at least in this home, in this situation, like she has a chance, a really good chance of being someone, doing something, and not ending up, on the same road that her mom and dad are on. But it's hard, because the judges here in Vermont are very, very lenient. It's always about reunification. Even, I mean, it was astonishing. The first court case I went to, they said, I think in August, mom made 2 out of the 11 visits. And so the judge said, in August, mom made 2 out of the 11 visits. In September, she made 5 out of the 11. And October, she made 7 out of the 11. And it's like celebrated. And I'm like, okay. And I tallied up the hours of what she had spent with her daughter since June 5th, which is the day I brought her home. And I forget the date, but prior to whatever this was, she had spent a total of 69 hours with her daughter. Like not even 3 full days. Like she hasn't, given her baby a bath. She hasn't had a night with her baby. Like it's just hard for me to imagine because we're on this path now where we go back to court in June, and the last court hearing, which was in late January, they said the next few months are critical. Like you have to get it together if you want this baby. Like I just don't even know how it's possible for someone for the mom, it's just a hard road. I mean, she has to get a job, she needs transportation, she needs steady housing. It's a lot to accomplish.
Yeah, there's a lot. They have a lot of hoops they have to jump through. It's very difficult.
And 4 months seems like a really short or a long time to me because like I just want her now, but it's not that long. And she has to learn to get sober too and make it to her appointments. And so it's hard to predict what will happen. Anything could happen, but it's that waiting game of you just don't know, which is it's awful, right? Because I wanted to get her this jacket, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna have her. Because it was one of those like super great deals that I was like, oh, look at that jacket, but you don't know what to do. And I'm sort of in that point now where I have an extra room. I have all the stuff for it. Like I literally just built a bookcase last night that's tree shaped. And because I'm doing like rainbows and trees and sunshine, but I'm like, do I, don't I? Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I set it up. I don't know if I wait because you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know whether you're going to keep her. Gosh, so what a terrible conundrum.
And it's hard, right? Like, I wouldn't say it makes me love her any differently, but knowing she's here forever and wondering are 2 very, very different things. And so I don't know what will change once I definitely know. I do know I'm going to throw like the biggest adoption party ever. And she's going to have like I'm going to have the best time ever. But anyway, like, I don't know if it changes anything, but I have to imagine it does because the living every day in wonder and the emotions that go with that, like they have to take away from what you're able to offer someone.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. So you're suggesting that you might be checking yourself a little bit because you don't want to become too invested.
Well, and they say that, right? And I mean, honestly, it's too late. Like,
right.
I'm invested. I try not to think about the plan if it is not in my favor, but I'm sure there's a part of me that's probably protecting myself. which takes away a little bit of what should be going to the baby, and it's interesting too because the state, hey, hi, good morning. The state, they could save so much money too. Like we get a stipend, which really is nothing, but I I don't do it for a stipend. Like, I mean, I do it because I honestly like love this little girl, and the stipend that we do get for her, I just put into an account because I'm hopeful that someday she will just be able to say, "Here you go. Like,
Yeah.
here's your savings account.
Yeah, here's
Take
my
it."
college fund.
Yeah, I mean, I get why they offer it because I'm sure other foster families couldn't afford it, but I would never take in a child if I couldn't afford to feed her and give her diapers and
She's just
but
lovely. I just want
oh my
people
God,
to know that
she's
she's up again and she wants to be involved in what's going on, and she's super alert and so happy to be in your arms, and also
she loves it.
looking. I can see she's looking at me and listening and thinking, why is that woman on the screen? Oh, there she goes. Oh.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah, she is pretty funny. Are you gonna smile?
Yeah.
So yeah, it just makes me wonder, and it's a huge amount of resources for the state. It's
Oh, it's
I
a
don't know.
billion-dollar business.
It's
Crazy.
crazy.
Hundreds of billions of dollars are spent
Yeah,
in the dependency system, and
right.
not necessarily money well spent either.
No, and it could be. I mean, again, I get it, but I'm also like, okay, like how long do we play this game? Like I don't want the money. I don't want the benefits of like getting the formula. Like I said, can I just get it and donate it? And they're like, well, you should really use the formula because I guess the state tracks it.
Right, I
So
see.
that's helpful for them.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, well, I guess so, but I mean, I do a lot of my own food, like my own pureed food, so I don't take advantage of all of the offerings that it's called WIC in Vermont.
Mhm.
But it has to be like draining. I mean, it's the number of kids that are in foster care, and I'm like, just tell me she's mine, and you can keep all your money. Like I don't, like just do this. So, but it's an interesting process.
Have you got a
It's
plan in place in case you aren't able to keep her?
I don't. I don't. People have asked if I will do it again. I don't know. I don't know. It's it's one of those things. I was watching a video. I was in that Instagram black hole. And there was this story about this man who ended up getting ALS. And so I was watching this whole thing because the wife documented it. And it was a snow day here yesterday. So I was like watching this and I'm like, okay, I need to stop watching this because it was like I was bawling. And then I looked over at her and I was like, oh my gosh, and obviously this dad had a little girl. And so it was all just very heartfelt and emotional. And I just looked at her and I was like, I don't know what I would do. I don't like,
Yeah.
I can't even go there because it's like so rattling. And I just know like as much as I want mom and dad to get better and succeed, it's never going to be enough for this baby.
Well, it would be great. I mean, I shouldn't say something like this, but I'm going to do it anyway. It'd be great if the mom and dad get better,
Yeah.
and they have a happy life, and
Mhm.
they get to have a connection with their child
Right.
who's raised by you.
That's kind of the conversation that I want to have with her, and I don't know if you can or you can't, and that's the hard
You
part
need
about
to ask
fostering.
about that because you might be able to have that conversation.
Right. Because I would say that to her. And I have zero intentions, right? Like, I think her mom is a lovely woman. I think she's made some horrible choices and they've been driven just by some awful things that she's gone through. And like, my heart actually does hurt for her. I got into my car after court last Thursday or 2 weeks ago. Everything went as I expected it to. So it wasn't that, I was faced with a new dilemma or a new thing, but I just cried. And I cried because it's so sad that anyone is in this situation. And, I want to look at her and say, your daughter, like, will always know you. And you can be as involved as you want to be. And that's who I am as a person. And I would, like, I want to take care of her. Like, I want everybody to be healthy and happy. And, I just wish it was that easy to say, like, let me have her and you can be part of her life. Because Jasmyn will ask someday, and I'm never going to deny, like, her the truth. Like, you have a mom.
So are you in touch with the child's attorney at all? Does it work that way in Vermont?
No, so you get they're called a GAL, so it's a guardian.
Right.
And so she's great.
Is she also an attorney?
She's not.
No,
but
because in some states, the gals, which are the equivalent of the CASA,
Yep.
they're also attorneys.
So she's not the attorney, but the child has an attorney that the gal sits next to in the court. And then there's like a lot of different players. It's all very, very confusing.
Oh, I know. It's very confusing. The first time I was in court, I was like, who are all these people?
Exactly.
Like, and there's this council, that council, this council, then another council coming in, and then a bunch of, and I'm like, what's going on? And then, and then the hearing's over. Like, before I could even figure out who was who.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, her mother was offered, there's this place called the Lund in Burlington, Vermont, and it's a place to go for her in-house residential treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, she would have had access to all of the services that she needed, in order to become sober and to get the therapy she needed. And at some point, if she did well there, the baby would have gone with her 50% of the time. And she declined the offer to go because she's really tied to this boyfriend who's in jail. And I'm sure was like, if I go there and he gets out of jail, he can't go there.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, it's sad, right? Because, I mean, she pretty much had like this golden ticket to have this baby, in like a month.
And to take care of herself.
Yep. And she chose to decline it. And so she's trying to do it on her own in town around these people that probably aren't great, choices for her to be around.
So what would you say now to somebody if they asked you, should I foster to adopt? Should I foster a kid? Should I do it?
I mean, I'd say yes, absolutely. I say that with the hopes that she stays with me forever. And I don't think I would feel differently if that doesn't work out that way. I just know, I look at it as, it's my turn to love her, and I'll take that turn for as long as they give me. And I hope it's forever. But the fact that this child has had a stable home, has grown up in an environment that's positive, drug-free, and is thriving the way she is, I would tell everybody to foster. I just wish, and part of my goal after it's all done is to really figure out how to support these foster parents. They almost need a liaison that is between the social worker and the foster parent, because, right, it's hard to say, gosh, I really hope mom starts using drugs again. That's awful, right? And I mean it, but I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know what I mean.
Yes, I get that.
So it's hard, and it's
very conflicting.
It's hard to say that, because you feel like a really bad person, but you also know at the end of the day, what's best for this child is if mom starts using again and can't follow through, and it's awful. It's really, really
it's an
awful.
choice, yeah.
Yeah.
What?
And,
I know. Hey, so what's she chewing on? Is it like a blankie? No.
So it's this little bunny thing that has a
it has all the
crinkle
stuff for her
and the
teething.
tags, and and then she has
It's funny when
strawberry.
you pulled it away, she was like, "What?" No.
Yeah, and then it has a little mirror and
Of course,
then little teething thing there. So yeah.
Yeah, I love her pink cheeks.
They are pink. But yeah, I would tell people to foster in a heartbeat. You really do make a difference. And the fact that she's been loved the way she's been loved for 8 months is more than she ever would have had. So
yeah, well, I think it's got to make a big difference. I mean, it to have that kind of stability and constant support and attention and love. It's gotta be good for her, no matter what comes down the road.
Right. And that's how I have to look at it is, like I said, it's my turn to love her, but I'm doing what's absolutely best for her right now. And hopefully that helps her along the way. And, like I hope I joke that I hope if she ever does have to go that she's old enough that I can tattoo my phone number and my address on her so she knows she can always come back. But
And
like,
that
all
does
joking
happen,
aside,
that does happen. They often come back, yeah.
yeah, and I want her to know she can always come back, but I think it would be odd if you tattooed a baby with that information. So, all joking aside, like I want mom to know, like I'm always here, and I would support her as well in any way that I could to make sure that this baby is cared for and brought up in a way that's gives her a chance.
Give her a chance, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add while we're here?
I don't think so. Just thankful for the opportunity to be able to talk about it. And
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good learning experience for people who hear this, who are thinking about fostering or fostering to adopt. I do want to ask you one other thing that I ask all my guests, and that is, what is the one thing that no one would ever know about you unless you told them?
That's interesting. So I would say, after my mom passed, it was actually just her 26th anniversary of her passing the other day. And I did a little tribute on social media. I would say, like, even having experienced like the worst heartache, that's probably the worst heartache I've ever experienced. I also look at that loss as, I think a lot of people would look at it as a woe is me, but I kind of turn it around and say, okay, like, being her daughter was an absolute privilege, and knowing a love like that is like the greatest gift of all. And even though we can't see her, I know that's what guides my brother and I. And I would just say, when it first happened, like I didn't think I'd ever be able to love or open my heart or even take that risk of having it be broken. And so I think that's something that people don't know about me, just because it's a hard thing to lose your mom at 20. But I feel like since my 20th year, I've thrown like all of that love back into the world, and I want everyone to have something like that. And so I guess people would say I'm probably too much of a giver, but I give because it feels really good to me.
It makes you feel good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah.
Isn't it been wonderful talking to you?
Yes, Andrew, I'm so glad our paths crossed and that Christine connected us.
Yeah, absolutely. And
thank you for the opportunity.
I wish you all the best with the baby. I hope you
you.
get to keep the baby, and I hope that the parents get it together and that they will be in the baby's life.
For sure. I'll keep you posted.
I would like updates.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and we could do that privately. We don't need to do that on the podcast.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much.
So nice. Thank you.
Yeah, take
Bye.
care. Okay, bye.
I just wanted to say thank you, Nicole, for taking the time to come and talk to us and share your story. It takes a lot of courage. But I also wanted to address the foster care to adoption law. For those of you who might wonder what the law is regarding the Adoption and Safe Families Act, this is what it says. The Adoption and Safe Families Act, ASFA. It was from 1997. Enacted to promote the safety, permanency, and well-being of children in foster care. The ASFA introduced measures to expedite the permanent placement of children. This law requires that states initiate termination of parental rights for children who have been in foster care for 15 out of the last 22 months, with certain exceptions. Despite its intentions, ASFA has faced criticism for sometimes prioritizing adoption over reunification by placing a timeline on reunification, undermining family of origin preservation efforts. Now, this is interesting to me because even if there is a timeline, it's contextual. It should also be determined where the child will be best nurtured. And each instance is so different and complex in its own right. No doubt, it's a huge challenge. So again, Nicole, thank you for telling your story. And taking such great care of this little life. We have many great episodes coming up. Thank you for listening, and be well. If you or someone you know is harming themselves or thinking about harming themselves, go to crisistextline.org. If you see something, say something. If you suspect a child's health or safety is jeopardized in any way by parents or anyone else, contact the Child Protective Services Agency in your county. 24-hour hotlines are staffed by trained social workers who will help you through the process, and you can do so anonymously. In California, you can call the Child Protection Hotline at 800-540-4000. So if you see something, say something. You might be saving a child's life. If you want to know more about becoming a CASA anywhere in the country, go to nationalcasagal.org. And in LA, casala.org. And if you want to know more about becoming a foster parent, check out the National Foster Parent Association at nfponline.org. There's also faithfosterfamilies.org and adoptuskids.org. There's tons of other information online as well, so you can just hunt around. We also want to thank the supremely talented Christina Apostolopoulos for her beautiful original music. You can find her music on Spotify or Instagram at Christina Aposto. And also thank you to Yukon Har for his engineering. Thanks for listening, and if you like what you hear and you find it as valuable as we do, please rate us and hit subscribe. You can also make a donation at bonusbabies.org. See you next time.